so heading into the break, Brenda, we were talking about what then happens if you are into an incident. Similar to what you would do if you were in a car accident as well?
It is, but there are some things that are a little bit counterintuitive. So if you're hurt on your bike or your child is hurt on his or her bike, you call your own car insurance. Even though your car is parked in the driveway or, off at work or somewhere unrelated to the accident, you call your own car insurance. A lot of people don't know that. And because in a bike accident situation, often there's not damage to the vehicle that hit you. So nobody ever contacts you. So if you don't take the initiative to call your own car insurance, nothing will happen.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, it's different. And people don't expect that. And so we'll get people sort of 6, 7, 8 months after an accident. How come nothing happened? Well, that's because no one knows about it,
The driver had no damage on their vehicle.
So they don't think to report it. They should, but they don't think to.
Unless there's injury. If a driver knows that they have caused injury to a cyclist, there will be reports. I guess there would be a police report, and therefore the paperwork would get started.
Right, but even the police don't send anything to the insurance, right? So you should, if you hurt someone, you should report it to your own car insurance. But people don't. People think, no damage to my property, why would I contact my insurance company? They should, but they don't necessarily do that.
Well, and they should, because there could be, in time, something has happened with a cyclist,
That's
and therefore
right.
They'll be coming back.
Exactly. And another thing that happens, and we know this from car accidents and everything else, at the scene, it may not seem like a big deal, because a lot of times injury sort of sets in sort of 24 hours later or 12 hours later, so then people have dispersed. So that's, that's an issue too, that they may genuinely not know that it's a big deal.
There are people asking questions, and so I do want to get to a caller that we have. I do believe Christine is on the phone this morning. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning.
What's your question for Brenda?
My question for Brenda is, I do have a lawyer representing me. I was actually struck by a vehicle that ran the red light as I was walking across the road. So I was a pedestrian. I was not in the vehicle. I did sustain some injury, but my question is how long does the process take?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get asked that question all the time. Now, you should be asking your questions of your lawyer, right? It's really important that you have a good relationship with your lawyer and that you ask him or her the questions. But just generally, people ask that all the time. A lot of times, cases are delayed because we need to know what the injury actually is. And you have to reach more or less maximum medical recovery before we can talk about settlement. Because the insurance company is always going to assume that you're going to get better. And you don't want your compensation based on you being better. You want it based on what actually happens. So that's often a big delay that clients get frustrated about. But it's your body. It's not our fault. After that, it takes time to gather the medical records, liability information. Your case sounds pretty good, but we have to gather witnesses, that kind of thing. And then it really depends on whether or not the insurance company is willing to negotiate without a lawsuit. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Pedestrian cases, they often are. So is that happening? That process can be a couple of months. If settlement doesn't happen and a lawsuit has to be started, then you're into sort of 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, and if it goes to trial, it could be longer. So it's not a quick process.
I think that's the reality that a lot of people have to realize very early on, is that when you're talking about injuries and how you haven't quite figured out how serious the injuries are until some time has passed.
Right.
And then there's a long process.
Yeah, and so you really have to be able to put it in the back of your mind. You can't be dealing with the lawsuit the whole time. You have to sort of, when it's relevant, when the lawyer calls you, when there's an event, you think about the lawsuit, and then you forget about the lawsuit and work on rehab and living your life. Because if you let it consume you, it will seem very long.